Well, hello, boys and girls. It's When I Feel Like It O'Clock again, and I know you're all excited. We're all giddy. It's back to When I Feel Like It O'Clock. Pearl of Wisdom. My NHL Pearls of Wisdom. So all gather around the Pearl of Wisdom table or whatever you have, statue, and let's get into some fine pearls, shall we? Hit the subscribe button, by the way, and do all that shit, and I'll send you a My NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace, and helicopter to your door and signed by me. I don't know why you wouldn't want that. Okay, let's get into. I want to talk about some of the Minnesota Wild stuff going on right now, which is basically Minnesota Wild made a choice to sign Zuccarello for a very long-term contract. Basically chiming in the concept that they're not rebuilding. I think this is an ill-advised way to go. But it appears what happens here is that ownership has just said, we're not rebuilding. So what the heck is their general manager that they brought in? Shit, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Anyways, any general manager that's there is in a tough situation. And what they've done is they went out and got Ryan Donato. They got Kevin Fiala. They're trading away veterans or close to veterans to get a little younger. And then they go out and get Zuccarello, who is a very much a veteran. So they're trying to do both at the same time is basically what they're trying to do. Ryan Donato and Fiala are young, but they can play now. So that was lovely. So this isn't a rebuild, as like they like to call it, a retool, if you wish. But and how effective is it? There hasn't been too many teams that have had much success doing this sort of thing. The Rangers are kind of doing it on the fly a little bit right now, and it's not working too bad for them. But they still had to miss the playoffs for a year or two. Minnesota's trying to do this without missing the playoffs at all. Philadelphia tried to do this and ended up missing the playoffs quite a bit. So they've got a difficult chore. Now, going forward, what does the Minnesota Wild have to do now? The biggest problem that I find that the Minnesota Wild has is you've got Mikko Koivu with one more year at 5.5, and Jason Stahl, with one more year as well. Eric Stahl, I should say Jason Stahl. Eric Stahl at 3.25. Sorry, 2 more years. They signed him for 2 more years, but he's 34 years old. Your top 2 centers are very old. The next center in the rotation would be Victor Rask, who they picked up from Carolina when they got rid of the Niederreiter, which I never understood. Why they did that, I don't know. That was a really bad trade as far as I'm concerned. Getting Victor Rask, yeah, okay, he's young, but he's very injury prone. He's got 3 more years at $4 million. You're really just crossing your fingers and hoping to hell that he can come out from this injury and become anywhere near where he was going to be before the injury. He hadn't even reached what they figured he was going to be by then. So your center position is really not in good sorts for the next couple of years. This is a team that's not really rebuilding. They're trying to get into the playoffs and hope they make it every single year. That's basically what they're doing, sort of like what St. Louis did. With this set, your next centers have not really shown, like Joel Eriksson Ek has not really shown that he's going to be able to take the role that they wanted him to when they drafted him not too long ago in the first round. Luke Cunnin was drafted as a center, but he's looking much more like a winger than he did before, and they really don't have much else coming up in their pipeline for centers. So what are they going to do? Well, Jason Zucker, has been almost traded twice. When he went to Calgary, I believe, I can't remember who they were going to get traded for, but it wasn't a center. And then they almost went to Pittsburgh. He almost went to Pittsburgh for Kessel, who wasn't a center either. He was a winger, a point-a-game winger. I can kind of understand why they were going that direction, but It's almost best that they didn't have that trade happen because I don't think in the long run it's going to help them out that much, especially for a player like Kessel who really needs a solid center to be able to do what he really needs to do. And they wouldn't have one in the next couple of years. Koivu and Eric Stahl are just not going to be there. So I would say, make a long story short, where would I do here? I would go for, and I've been going through here, I thought New Jersey. If you go to New Jersey, who have cap room, and if they go to New Jersey where they have cap room, they don't really have a center they can throw at you, except for maybe Pavel Zacha, who hasn't really shown very well. You could take a flyer on that. I don't think you're in a position to take a flyer on anybody. You really need a good player in return. You might be able to get Jesper Bratt, Blake Coleman, but these are all wingers, and you're set up not too bad on the wings with Greenway and, like I said, Cunnin be a winger, Donato. You're set up pretty good. So I don't think that's a very good idea. Another thing I thought of is they have some cap room. You could go to Tampa Bay and see how much it would take to get Johnson off their hands. Johnson, if they're going to sign Point, they're going to have to trade guys like Johnson. Click on there. Okay. They're going to have to trade guys like Johnson. Johnson's 28 years old. He's got 4 more years at $5 million. I think you can get him for a second-round pick and a middle prospect or something like that. Bring him on in, then trade Jason Zucker, say, to a team like New Jersey, and then you can give maybe that kid a shot to see if you can get the most out of him where New Jersey hasn't been able to up until now. The other option I had, and I think that's the best option actually, by the way, if they can actually pull Johnson out of there, good 50, 60 point guy, he'll solidify your center position for the next 4 or 5 years as you try to get some more young players to come up and take those roles. Maybe X going to take a little longer than you expected. If you did happen to go get Pavel Zacha for Zucker, if they're willing to do that sort of a thing there in New Jersey, they do need wingers, especially left wingers. They might have ran out of patience with Pavel Zacha. I think that's not a bad deal. Give him time to grow. You never know. He picked up 26 points last year. He seems to have upside. Might not be a bad choice. And he's big, solid. If all of that goes to hell, and you don't have that at all, you might want to look to Anaheim. Anaheim has a guy named Henrique, and picked him up from New Jersey. The thing is, he does have a no-trade clause. Seems like a really nice guy, though. That's not hard to get him to go certain directions as long as it looks like he's going to have a solid position in your lineup. I think you could trade Zucker for Henrique pretty much straight up. You might have to throw in a little bit because Zucker's a winger and Henrique's a center. But they have 2 young players coming up in Steele. They have, not Daniel Sprong, Troy Terry, I should say, and Steele. And they're going to need room for them very shortly. So grabbing a winger, which they could use some help on the wings, with especially on the left side where Zucker can play both sides. Nick Ritchie is They have him as their number 1 left winger right now, and I doubt they're very comfortable with that. So you might be able to pick up an Adam Henrique, who's a very good, big, solid guy, plays both ways of the ice, like Minnesota is wont to do. They have that kind of reputation to have guys like that, like Mikko Koivu and Stahl. I think he would fit in really well, and almost guarantee you, if you made a trade like that, if you had a guy like Henrique, I would say you were in a much better position to make the playoffs this year. And you've got a guy who's 29 years old, and he's signed up for the next 5 or 6 years. So you can wait for some young guys to come up and take their place. Anyways, that's my full 42%, boys and girls. That's all I got to give. Hope you enjoyed the fine programming. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.